Industrial power plants across the United States will soon face fewer restrictions on emitting harmful pollutants into nearby communities and the atmosphere under new regulatory proposals from the Trump regime, according to environmental experts. Today, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, announced a plan to repeal a significant climate regulation aimed at sharply cutting greenhouse gas emissions from power plants by the 2030s. Simultaneously, the agency moved to ease rules on hazardous air pollutants, including mercury, changes that critics say would increase health risks and accelerate climate change. Changes that critics say would increase health risks and accelerate climate damage. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin defended the rollbacks as a win for consumers and economic growth, asserting they would reduce costs and combat what he referred to as the climate change cult. Zeldin argued that previous regulations placed excessive burdens on the energy sector, leading to higher costs for Americans. Those days are over, he said.
Today, I'm pleased to make the largest deregulatory announcement in U.S. history. The Environmental Protection Agency is initiating 31 historic actions to fulfill President Trump's promise to unleash American energy, revitalize our auto industry, restore the rule of law, and give power back to the states. EPA will be reconsidering many suffocating rules that restrict nearly every sector of our economy and cost Americans trillions of dollars. Our actions include the Biden administration's deeply flawed Clean Power Plan 2.0, mercury and air toxic standards, Quad O BC, particulate matter 2.5, light, medium, and heavy car and truck rules, NESHAPs, and the so-called social cost of carbon. To advance cooperative federalism, EPA will partner with states that were universally rejected by the last administration's Good Neighbor rule. Today, the Green New Scam ends as the EPA does its part to usher in the golden age of American success. Our actions will lower the cost of living by making it more affordable to purchase a car, heat your home, and operate a business. Jobs will be created, especially in the U.S. auto industry, and our nation will become stronger for it. From the campaign trail to day one and beyond, President Trump has delivered on his promise to unleash energy dominance and lower the cost of living. We at EPA will do our part to power the great American comeback.
The rollback targets two major regulations, one introduced by the Biden administration to phase out emissions from fossil-fueled power generation, which accounts for about 25% of U.S. carbon output, and the tightened mercury and air toxics standards, which were designed to curb pollutants with serious health impacts. Mercury exposure is linked to neurological disorders in children and chronic illnesses in adults. And coal-fired plants are responsible for nearly half of mercury emissions in the U.S., according to EPA data. In a letter sent to the EPA, over 200 public health professionals warned the regulatory reversal would result in a massive increase in pollution, the largest in decades, and labeled the move as a betrayal of the EPA's foundational mission. Trump has made fossil fuel expansion a central pillar of his agenda and has received unprecedented financial backing from the oil and gas industry. At the EPA event, he was joined by 8 Republican lawmakers, each of whom has benefited from significant fossil fuel industry donations. One of them has personal investments in more than 20 fossil fuel firms. Zeldin, a climate change denier himself, justified scrapping the Biden-era climate rule by downplaying the U.S. power sector's global emissions share, an argument critics say ignores the sector's ranking as one of the world's top 6 emitters if considered independently. Former EPA Administrator Gina McCarthy condemned the plan, calling it a reckless move that prioritizes industry profits over public health. This isn't policy-making, it's political theatre, she said. These decisions are going to harm everyone, but especially children and future generations. Since Trump's return to office, the EPA has systematically targeted a wide range of environmental protections, undoing rules that collectively were expected to save hundreds of thousands of American lives. Although Trump claims that unfettered fossil fuel production will lower energy prices, he's taken steps to slow the growth of renewable energy, despite wind and solar now being the most cost-effective options for new electricity generation without damaging the planet. The timing of the rollback announcement comes amid a series of alarming climate signals, record-breaking temperatures, deadly heat waves, and intensifying natural disasters. Scientists warn that without urgent action, climate change could lead to massive economic disruption and force millions to relocate due to rising seas and extreme levels. Environmental advocates condemned the proposals. Patrick Drupp of the Sierra Club said the administration is putting public health on the chopping block to please fossil fuel donors. It's disgraceful, he said. This is a clear example of sacrificing American lives and our environmental future for political and financial gain. Meanwhile, one of the US government's most prominent websites dedicated to educating the public about climate science, climate.gov, is on the verge of going silent after nearly all of its editorial staff were abruptly fired. The site, operated by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Climate Program Office, will stop publishing new material imminently, according to multiple former staffers whose contracts were recently terminated. Rebecca Lindsay, who previously managed the website and was fired earlier this year during a broader purge of NOAA probationary employees, described a tense internal battle between political appointees and career civil servants over the site's fate. I had an excellent performance record, raises, bonuses, glowing reviews. Then I got a generic dismissal letter saying that NOAA no longer needed my skills. The team behind climate.gov included around 10 contracted staff members, supplemented by NOAA scientists who work to maintain and update content grounded in peer-reviewed research. Their mission, according to Lindsay, was to provide impartial, science-based information without political influence. The site, housed within NOAA's Communication, Education and Engagement Division, billed as the federal government's largest team dedicated to climate education, draws hundreds of thousands of visitors each month and is a vital resource for educators, journalists and policymakers. While some scheduled content may still appear on climate.gov during this month, there are currently no plans for any new material after that. The future of the site and its integrity as a trusted source of climate science is surely over. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.